right, ladies and gentlemen, what is good? What is up? We are here tonight to discuss a former president, for the first time in history, has been convicted of a felony. 34 counts, in fact. Now, whether you like Donald Trump or you don't like Donald Trump, or whether you're a Biden supporter or Trump supporter, whatever it may be, can we all just acknowledge, can we all just agree, first and foremost, that this is sad. It's historic and it's sad. And I'm going to be honest with you. When I saw the verdict, I was kind of surprised. Here's the thing. I believed that he was going to be found guilty on some of the counts. But to be found guilty on all of the counts, now that's wild. That I did not see coming. And let me just go ahead and say right out the bat, I'm sick of the conspiracy theories. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of the conspiracy theories. There's this whole thing going around how this was rigged. Biden set this all up. Guys, people, come on. This was a jury of 12 people. A jury of our peers, of Donald Trump's peers, that came to this conclusion. Now, either we believe in the judicial system or we don't. And I will say, the justice system has a lot of issues. The justice system has a lot of problems. I don't think anybody would deny that. Sometimes it feels wrong to call it a quote-unquote justice system, because sometimes it doesn't feel like it's interested in justice. Sometimes it feels like the system is interested in, number one, maintaining itself, empowering itself, and number two, it's interested not in morality, not in moral victories, but simply in legal minutia. Not using the law to achieve moral justice, but in simply promoting legal minutia. Legal, just I call it legalese. Like it's whenever I hear a lawyer get on a news show, the lawyer, all they want to do is speak in legal terms. It's like, yeah, okay, no one cares. What about the moral ramifications of a case? What about the societal ramifications of a case? And it's like, well, I'm a lawyer. I was brainwashed into not being able to think outside of my my office. It's the justice system is not perfect. Let's just admit that right up front. That being said, we have the system that we have. And on principle, I would say it's a good system, especially when it comes to the jury system. Because again, the final decision was in the hands of the jury, not in the hands of Donald Trump, not in the hands of Joe Biden, not in the hands of the Republican Party, not in the hands of the Democratic Party. It was in the hands of 12 citizens. And you may say, well, of course they went against Donald Trump because they're New Yorkers. There's Republicans in New York as well as Democrats. What people wanted is 12 people entrenched in their side of the political aisle. The right wanted people that were MAGA. The left wanted people that were, I don't know, commies or I don't know, whatever. But no, we got people who I looked at the information that was available for the jurors, and they seem like reasonable-minded people just from the information that is available on them. Very independent-minded people. So I didn't have an issue with it. And again, wasn't the judge that made this decision. It was 12 citizens of the United States that made this decision. And they made it unanimously on all 34 counts. So this nonsense that this is all rigged, it's all a Biden conspiracy. Please stop. Enough. It's ridiculous. You're grown fucking adults. Act like it. You sound crazy. For the love of God, I saw a video earlier. Maybe I'll pull it up during the stream. I saw a video earlier of a woman visiting from England, from Britain, and she was surrounded by MAGA supporters at Donald Trump's trial. And she couldn't believe her eyes. She couldn't believe these people were real. She thought these people were clowns. She thought this was a joke. She looked at these people and she was like, oh, you can't be serious. And the police had to escort her out of there because those MAGA supporters were becoming a danger. They were becoming a danger to her safety. Guys, Americans are a joke. To the rest of the world, we're a joke. We're not a serious people. We don't act serious. We don't think. We don't use reason. We don't use logic. It's all about emotion, primarily anger. And we're letting that cloud our judgment. And I'm just sick of it on both sides. But the right, especially right now, I don't know what the hell is wrong with you people. We're going to throw logic. We're going to throw reason. We're going to throw evidence. We're going to throw facts. We're going to throw all of that out the window just to support Big Daddy Trump. We've become a cult of personality. The right has become a cult of personality, which is funny because that's what they accuse the left of. But now the right is doing it. And it's the same thing. Like we talk about this on the Pop Culture channel. We've been talking about the Nick Rekieta situation. We've been talking about Eric July. I'm going to throw out every principle I have. I'm going to throw out all my logic and reasoning just to support Big Daddy Rekieta, or to support Big Daddy Eric July, or to support Big Daddy Trump. Because they reiterate and confirm all of my beliefs. They're a mouthpiece for my ideology. And that's all I really care about. I'm just sick of it, man. I'm sick of it. I'm so sick of it. I'm disgusted. And I'm tired of sitting here and dancing around. I'm tired of sitting here and pretending like it's normal to act this way. You people are fucking crazy. The evidence was brought forward. The evidence was presented. The jury convicted him. It's done. Whether you like it or not, that is the system. It is done. Now, that being said, let's talk about what this means going forward. So here we have this article from Newsweek. Donald Trump suffers triple polling blow in 48 hours after guilty verdict. So on some positive news for Donald Trump, before we get into this, the man did raise, I think it was $34 million just in like 24 hours, which I'm not surprised because as a Republican, as a conservative, somebody that supports the capitalist system, there's a whole lot of capitalists out there that are going to be sending their money to Donald Trump because, you know, they don't want Joe Biden getting in there, even though Joe Biden is far from being a socialist. He's just an establishment figure. Again, I say with Joe Biden and Donald Trump, the 1980s wants their politics back. The 1980s wants their economic plans back. So, but of course, there's a lot of moneyed interest in Donald Trump because he's going to allow the rich to keep more of their money instead of taxing them, instead of things going to healthcare and public schools and things that can actually help people, housing. But that's a topic for another video. All right. So the article reads, former President Donald Trump has suffered losses in 3 separate polls in the 48 hours since his guilty verdict in his Manhattan criminal trial. A New York jury on Thursday found Trump guilty. We know all this. I want to get to the polls. In a YouGov Snap poll conducted just hours after the verdict was announced, 50% of the 3,040 U.S. adults who were polled said they believed Trump was guilty. So half and half. While 30% said they believe he was not guilty, another 19% said they were not sure. So the ones that believe he's innocent are in the minority. The poll has a margin of error of plus or minus 2.3%. When broken down to party lines, 15% of Republicans think he is guilty, while 64% do not. 48% of independents think Trump is guilty, while 25% do not. And 86% of Democrats believe he is guilty, while 5% do not. A total of 831 Republicans, 1,114 independents, and 1,113 Democrats were surveyed. The margin of error of the subgroups are unclear. We move on to the next poll. A morning consult poll conducted on Friday found 54% of registered voters approved of the jury's verdict, while 39% disapproved. Across party lines, 18% of Republicans approve of the verdict, while 74% disapprove. 52% of independents approve, while 33 disapprove, and 88% of Democrats approve, while 8% disapprove. The poll surveyed 2,220 registered voters and had a margin of error plus or minus 2 percentage points. The size and the margins of errors of the subsamples are also unclear. Of the 2,220 registered voters, 51% said that Trump should end his presidential campaign, while 43% said he should not. The majority of Republicans surveyed believe Trump should not drop out. Meanwhile, 87% of Trump supporters don't want him to end his campaign, while 8% do. A Reuters Ipsos poll conducted between Thursday and Friday found that 5% of Republicans and 21% of independents said they are much less likely to vote for Trump because of the jury's ruling. Meanwhile, 30% of Republicans and 13% of independents said the verdict made them much more likely to vote for Trump. However, the majority of Republicans, 55%, independents, 58%, and Democrats, 58%, said the verdict did not change their mind on whether or not to vote for the former president. Okay. So that's basically the 3 polls that they were talking about. So this gets into what I personally view as the most likely effect coming out of this trial and out of this guilty verdict. And that is, I don't think this is going to change the polls very much. But I do think there is going to be somewhat of a change. It's not going to be significant. It's not like, all the Republican Party is going to turn against Trump now, like, and independents are all going to flee from Trump. And it's not going to be dramatic. It's not going to be anything dramatic, but there is going to be a shift. And the shift is going to go in one way or the other. And I think that's going to be a determinant for this election, because don't get me wrong, this election is going to be close. This may be one of the closest elections we have in our lifetime. I want you to keep that in mind. But I do think that this verdict, this trial, has shifted things in one direction, more in one direction compared to the other. And we're going to talk about that. So let's jump over to the next article, the second article I wanted to pull up today. And it said, this is from Political. It says 22 experts predict what the Trump conviction would mean for 2024 and beyond. All right, so let's jump into this. So, course, it's given the backstory of the trial and everything. Like we know all this. We know all this. So we have one expert, which is Timothy James Nafatali, who is a historian and senior research scholar at Columbia University School of International and Public Affairs, says that the rule of law will come under attack, will come under the most ferocious political attack in our history. There's some Kurt Mills, who is a executive director of the American Conservative, an arms race of recriminations. It's pointed out here, Americans are not going to agree on this verdict and probably never will. But the principle of the rule of law and equal justice must be balanced with avoiding the plague of criminalization of the political process that has blighted other systems around the world and throughout history. And I think that's one of the very real threats here, is that if we start attacking the rule of law and we start politicizing the criminal justice system, if we delegitimize it, guys, we're talking about some banana republic stuff. I mean, this is not good. The faith in our institutions is already basically gone. And part of that is just because people don't care about independence anymore. They don't care about objectivity. They just want to win. And it used to not be this way. I remember hearing a story once. This guy was talking about in relation to the Trump situation. He was saying that, his father was a lifelong Republican, very conservative person. But when all the stuff about Nixon came out, and it became obvious that Nixon was guilty, he said, well, if Nixon did half of the stuff that they're accusing him of, he has to resign. He has to step down from the presidency. That's being reasonable. That's putting reason, truth, and facts above your party, above your politics. We don't have that anymore. People don't care. People don't care if someone's guilty. If they're on their side, fuck it. Fuck reality. Fuck the facts. And it just, when I think about that, it's just heartbreaking, because it's like, if that's how people really think, if that's how people are really going to approach politics and civics and public life and being a member of this society, then we're doomed. We are doomed if that's the case. Because nothing matters at that point. It's just about winning, and that's it. It's just about my guy beating your guy, and that's it. That's it. Mike Madrid, a GOP political strategist and a principal at Grassroots Labs, campaign management and lobbying firm located in California. There's no question this verdict is bad politically for Trump. We're going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about the political ramifications here. Andrew Gillespie, an associate professor of political science at Emory University, says, I'll be paying particular attention to independents in the new poll. Yeah. Yo, what's up, Phil here? We're talking about the Trump verdict and how it's going to affect things going forward. I'm going to get my thoughts on it here in a second. I've just been talking about the story in general and just how insane this country has become on both sides. On both sides. It's in other videos I've done on this channel, I'm not kidding, this is the most disheartening election in my lifetime. I mean, just on all levels, on both sides. But let's continue. Let's get some more comments from the experts. Mark Berlin, an English professor emeritus at Emory University and a senior editor at First Things. The civic faith collapses. Mark Michael Starr Hopkins, CEO of Northern Star Strategies, a political communication firm, a classic case of guilt by association. Catherine J. Ross, professor of law emerita at George Washington University Law School and the author of A Right to Lie, Presidents, Other Liars, in the First Amendment. Further concerted efforts to erode the rule of law. Jeff Greenfield, a 5-time Emmy-winning network television analyst and author. Maybe this time will be different. David Greenberg, a contributing writer to Political Magazine, is a professor of history and journalism at Rutgers University and author of the forthcoming biography John Lewis Alive. Reaffirms, or so it seems for now, the Watergate-era precept that no one is above the law. Mona Charen, a syndicated columnist and policy editor at The Bulwark. Consequences that are impossible to predict, but that cannot be good. Liam Donovan, a senior political strategist at Bracewell LLP and a former National Republican Senatorial Committee aide. The verdict serves as a Rorschach test. Alan Lichtman, a distinguished professor of history at American University. A lot would have to go wrong for Biden to lose re-election. Roy Texera, a senior fellow at the American Enterprise Institute, abandoned hope of a game-changer moment. Charles Sykes, author of How the Right Lost Its Mind. Something about felony convictions that tend to focus the mind. Leah Wright Rigor, senior at the Agora Institute Associate Professor of History at Johns Hopkins University and author of The Loneliness of the Black Republican. American democracy is fragile and in crisis. Sarah Longwell, publisher of The Bulwark, the host of Focus Group podcast, and executive producer of Republican Voters Against Trump. It's good that Donald Trump isn't a king. Sophia Nelson, a former Republican Congressional Investigative Committee counsel, and she was admitted to the bar of the U.S. Supreme Court in 2005. This verdict shows that we actually practice what we preach. Julia Azari, a professor of political science at Marquette University. This record is now part of Trump's presidential legacy. Brenda Wineapple, an essayist and author of The Impeachers, The Trial of Andrew Johnson, The Dream of a Just Nation. His diehard MAGAites will cleave to him. Molly Zhang Fast is a special correspondent at Vanity Fair, host of the Fast Politics podcast and an MSNBC political analysis. It's going to matter. We'll see. Joshua Zeitz, a historian, political magazine contributing writer. American voters are the last guardrail. Newt Gingrich, former Speaker of the House of Representatives. We are on the edge of a tyrannical dictatorship of the left. All right. I believe that's the last one. So, here's the thing. Failure says, think about it. If he's guilty of something with around 7-ish years in the political sphere, imagine the crimes pushed under the rug by politicians with decades in the government. Joke country. Yeah, on both sides. So here's the thing. I don't like Trump or Biden. I think it's ridiculous that this is who we've nominated from both parties. We should have had new blood by now, a new generation. I'm tired of these old people running this country in the year 2024 when we have things like AI on the horizon. We're dealing with global warming. We're dealing with these issues abroad when it comes to defense. We're dealing with an economic crisis where we're really going to have to reassess how the economy works because it's not working anymore. The whole economic system is broken. Guys, this is how crazy things are. You cannot afford health insurance because these health insurance companies have increased the prices so much because of corporate greed. And it's so bad that the people working for the insurance companies cannot afford health insurance themselves. Think about what I just said. People working for health insurance companies cannot afford the very health insurance that they are selling. What the fuck? And yet we're still voting in these 70, 80-year-old people. Why are we doing this to ourselves? Why? We need new people, new ideas. We're not having real conversations. We're not discussing the issues. It's just, my guy's better than your guy. I want to beat your guy. That's all. I mean, that's all people care about is winning. We don't think. We're not intellectual. We're just a joke. We're children in adult bodies. What the hell is wrong with this? All right, so I'm going to recompose myself, and I'm going to tell you how I think this is going to affect things. So I do not think this is going to have a major effect on the election, but it is going to have some effect on the election. It's going to be a small effect, but it may just be enough to tip the balance of power in one direction over the other. And here's what I mean. The people that are diehard Donald Trump supporters, this has changed nothing for them. They are still going to be diehard Donald Trump supporters. The people that are diehard against Donald Trump, this is going to change nothing for them. They're still going to be diehard against Donald Trump. Those two camps are not changing. The Republicans are still going to shill for Donald Trump. The Democrats are still going to hate on Donald Trump. None of that is changing. What is going to change is not the radical right or the radical left, but that slim, ever diminishing margin in between. And I'm talking about Republicans who don't really like the personality of Donald Trump and independents. And that's a very slim number of people compared to the rest of the population. But they do exist. And I believe this is going to cause them. To shift over to Biden. If they weren't already there, this will probably do it. Because before the guilty verdict was handed down, there was polls out there that said if Donald Trump is convicted in a number of key swing states, it would flip the polls by like 10 percentage points, which is massive. In an election this close, that's huge. So it would, because in a number of polls, Trump has been winning. But if the conviction came down, if he was convicted of a felony, it would actually shift the polls by 10 percentage points. And that's what just happened. So now we'll see what the polls say. Now we'll see how the polls change. We just saw some polls earlier, but we'll see how it continues to play out over the next few days, the next week, the next month. And I do think we're going to see a boost for Biden. Now, the question is it going to come too early? Because this story could fade by the time we get to the election. He does go for sentencing. Trump does go for sentencing July 11th. So it is going to get brought up again there. But I would say this would have a greater effect if this trial had happened in October, if this was the October surprise. That usually happens in every election. We'll see. But I do think that at least for the moment, this is a benefit for Biden. I don't know how you can deny that. So I have already predicted in other videos, I think Biden will win re-election based on what I'm seeing. Based on the trends nationally, I think that's where it's going. And I think this further cements those trends and actually slightly boosts those trends. Because overall, America has been going more left. Like it or not, that is what the stats show. Failure says, I'll never vote, but I do like that Trump is a wrecking ball to the establishment order. So I do like that Trump shook things up, but Trump, even if you like Trump, Trump is a liability at this point. And like I said, I think both Biden and Trump are disappointments. I look at these two men and I don't see the future. I see the past. I see the past. I see stagnation. And what else is stagnation but death? I want someone new. I want another JFK. Like, can we get some 30 something year old, some 40 something year old in there with new ideas, with a fresh perspective, with new blood? Someone that doesn't have any ties to the old establishment of old Ronnie Reagan, the Clintons. Like, can we just be serious? Can we be a proper, updated, modern country in 2024? Can we be talking about real issues? Can we talk about issues that are actually affecting us now instead of, well, this is the policy of Ronnie Reagan? It's like, ugh. Or, well, here, Biden's got dementia. Trump's a criminal. It's like, I want to talk about AI. I want to talk about healthcare. I want to talk about climate change. I want to talk about education. I want to talk about making things better. I want to talk about upgrading and updating our country for the 21st century. We are next year we're going to be a quarter into this century and we're still living and pretending and acting like it's the fucking 1980s. Can we please grow the fuck up? For the love of God, enough is enough. Enough is enough. I'm sick of both parties. Fuck the Democrats. Fuck the Republicans. Fuck Biden. Fuck Trump. I'm so sick of it. Like, I'm so fucking frustrated, dude. I'm so fucking. I can't be patriotic. As long as you. See, I disagree with this. As long as you have the federal government as big as it is, nothing will change. The problem is not the government. The problem is that the government's in bed with corporations. Like, I don't know how this is not obvious. Look, guys, this is how it's supposed to work. The people control the government controls the corporations. The problem is not a big government. The problem is a corrupt government. Like, I want universal health care, damn it. I'm sick of people going bankrupt because they get fucking sick. I'm sick of people that work for the health insurance companies not even being able to afford the very health insurance that they're selling. I'm sick of kids not getting a proper education or decent food in their schools. I'm sick of my fellow citizens being on the streets homeless when we have the money and the resources to eliminate homelessness. I'm sick of corporations controlling my government of the people, for the people, by the people. The government is there to provide for us, not to take care of the corporate elites. And neither one of these parties are saying anything about reforming the government, getting it back to what it's supposed to be. And I'm just so disheartened. I'm disgusted. I mean, it truly is sickening that neither side is talking about anything to help the people. Oh, the stock market is up. That's good news for Biden. How does that help the average person? How does that help the average person? It doesn't. People still can't afford health care. People are still homeless. Kids are still going hungry. But the stock market's up. We created more jobs. Great. If the jobs aren't paying enough for people to actually live, what's the fucking point? What's the point? Failure, the problem with that ideology is that there's some things you can never do as an individual. I mean, that's just the truth. There's some things that you're never going to be able to do as an individual. There's some things that we have to do collectively as a society. And here's the thing, it works in other countries. Other developed countries have a single payer universal healthcare system, and guess what? You don't pay a fucking dime. You don't pay a dime out of pocket. And it's cheaper. They save money. We spend twice as much on healthcare and get worse results. Their people are healthier. It works. Their education systems are better. The people are happier. It works. Why aren't we doing that here? I mean, I'm sorry, but there's just some things that you as an individual cannot do yourself. And then you may say, well, even if you do, what about your neighbor? What about the person down the street? What if they fall on hard times? Well, let them fucking die, I guess. That's cruel. That's sick. That's evil. We're supposed to be better than that. We must be better than that. You can't end homelessness on your own. That's what, again, the government is there in order to provide things that we cannot provide on a societal level ourselves, for things that we cannot do individually. You can be as self-sufficient as you want, but when you get cancer, what's going to pay your medical bills? I don't mean that in a selfish way. You can help your neighbor, but California, let me explain something. Every single American is your neighbor. Every single American is your brother or your sister. They are your citizens. I don't care what state they live in. You need to stop thinking in these narrow views. Well, my neighbor is the people in my town or my county. We don't live in that world anymore. I mean, look at this. I'm on the internet. I'm talking to people, not just all over my country, but all over the world. My neighbor is no longer just the people on my street. We don't live in that world anymore. That's the 1980s. That's dead. That world's gone. It's never coming back. I care about everybody. I want everybody to have the basic necessities of life because they're human. They're my brother. They're my sister. Is that not what the great religions all teach us? This whole idea of I'm going to get what's mine for me and mine, screw everybody else. That's something that we just recently came up with in modern America. Your worldview doesn't provide progress. No, my worldview is progress. Because the whole point of developing new technologies, of progressing medically, scientifically, technologically, is to make life easier, to eliminate certain struggles. That is the point of progress. What are we progressing towards? A better world? That's what I want. There is no reason that just because one person succeeds and one person fails, that the one that fails should have to go hungry, homeless, without healthcare education. That's how we used to think. That's animalistic. That's caveman talk. We're not cavemen anymore. It's like what Nicodemus said in The Secret of Nim. We know too much. We know better. So we have to be better. We must be better. We have a moral imperative to be better. That aspiration will cost, and I don't mean money. What? What will it cost? Whatever that cost is that you're talking about, it's worth it. But I do not accept that we have to eternally live in a world where children go hungry, where people go homeless, where healthcare is seen as a privilege and not a right. I refuse to accept that world. That world can burn in hell. That world can burn in hell. That is the world of the past. I'm looking towards the future. We're going to leave the savagery and the barbarism behind. If I could reach into the collective human soul and rip out savagery and barbarism from our makeup, I'd do it in a heartbeat. Oh, but Jesker, that you'd be violating people's free will. Like, people have to have the freedom to choose evil and barbarism and savagery and selfishness. Well, fuck them. Fuck them. Either you're against evil or you're not. Either you're going to fight it or you're not. We're going to have to do, I mean, seriously, when you look at what's about to happen with AI and automation taking all these jobs, what are we going to do? Most people are not going to be working because it won't be necessary. So what are we going to do? Let the majority of people starve? Let them die? You're okay with that? I'm not. So we're going to have to fundamentally rethink not only our economic system, but our societal structure. And no one's talking about that. None of these politicians are talking about that. People have no idea how insane, how crazy the world is going to change in the next decade or two. And it can either be a golden age or a dystopia. But it's up to us to decide. And right now, with both of these clowns running for office, these are not the men that are the right fit to serve the role of guiding us through that. They're just not. They're just not. They're just not. All right. I think we're going to wrap it up. I pretty much got out everything I wanted to say, and I got to get on my soapbox and preach for a little bit. But that's my thoughts on the Trump guilty verdict. That's my thoughts on the effect it's going to have. I think overall this is a boon for Biden. I think it's a positive for Biden Not a huge positive for Biden, but just enough to where I think it solidifies what I've been saying for the past 6 or 7 months now, which is Biden's going to win re-election. All the trends point leftwards. That's where things are going. And again, I don't like either one. I don't like either one. I think both of these guys are clowns. And I think we're a clown nation for nominating these guys. I really do. I really do. So on that depressing note, sometime this month I will be putting out another election prediction video. I'm going to start doing one election prediction video a month. And obviously with this verdict, this has changed things somewhat. But I'm not ready to put that video out yet because I need to see how this is affecting polls and affecting voters in individual battleground states before I can really decide how I think this is going to affect the election. Overall, I do think it's a positive for Biden, but I don't know how it's going to change things on the Electoral College map. So I have to do some more research before I'm ready to put that video out. But thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for tuning in. Let's grow the channel, subscribe, all that good stuff. If you can support the channel financially, you can do so through Patreon, through PayPal, Cash App, Venmo, all that good stuff. And I appreciate it. I appreciate your support. If you can't support the channel financially, like, share, subscribe, especially share so that other people can enjoy the content as well. Failure, thank you for showing up. Appreciate it. Even though we disagree, that's fine. Because on my channels, I want people to be able to disagree. I want people to be able to have debates. I don't believe in just having a one-sided opinion. I don't believe in canceling anybody. I don't believe in shutting anybody up. I may disagree with someone vehemently, but I think that we do need to have debates and arguments because that's how you come up with solutions. That's how you come up with solutions. And I think that's important. So, but I appreciate your input, Failure. Much appreciated. All right, that being said, tomorrow on my pop culture channel, I am going to be putting out a One Piece video, live reacting to chapter 1116. That's going to be going out. The edited, censored version will be going out on YouTube tomorrow. The unedited, uncensored version will be going on the Patreon tomorrow. Obviously, I do have to, do some editing and censoring to get through the copyright on YouTube, obviously. But the unedited, uncensored version will be going on Patreon. That's going to be coming out tomorrow. And tomorrow night, I'm going to be doing a live stream on the Pop Culture channel. We got some new developments in the Nick Rekieta stuff. Given the topic and the people, and specifically one person that I'm going to be talking about on tomorrow's live stream, given some of the overlap between my audience and his audience, it might be very spicy, my opinions on this. So you guys will want to tune in for that. That's going to be tomorrow night on the Pop Culture channel. Failure says, I don't mind disagreement. I believe we're both searching for truth. I agree. Even if I disagree with somebody, as long as I know that they're coming from a place of sincerity, like they are sincerely trying to solve problems, even if I think their solutions are wrong, if they are at least being sincere about it and they truly believe that what they're doing is right, I can respect that and I can have respect for them. Because there's people I disagree on both sides of the political aisle, but there's people on both sides of the political aisle I legitimately believe are sincere about their beliefs and sincere in trying to do what's best for the country, and I can respect that. Not many, they're few and far between, but there are some people, public figures that are like that. So on that more positive note, we're going to call it a stream. Thank you guys for tuning in. Much appreciated. This is Jesse James, and I am signing out. Oh, the link to the Pop Culture channel, in case you guys don't know, if you've not been over there yet, the link to that is going to be in the description box down below, as well as a link to the gaming channel. Go check them both out. But I'll see you guys later. Jesse James, signing out.